In this video, I'm going to offer up 10 contemporary duologues for 2 male performers. These scenes will be perfect for showcases and scene study. You can use the chapters in this video to save time finding the duologue you need, and at the end of the video, I'll tell you the best ways to read these plays. Right, let's go. John and M from Cock by Mike Bartlett. Start on page 3 at M's line, you take it out, that's what you do, and stop on page 10 at John's line when taking a lifeboat. This is the opening of the play, and it's a great introduction to the fiery relationship between John and M. They're arguing about domestic chores, how M has reacted to being hit by a car, and how John feels that they're fundamentally different people. It's fast-paced and high energy, but still has lots of room for detail and different dynamics exploring their toxic relationship. Tony and Frankie from the Unreturning by Anna Jordan. This is 2 scenes put together. The first scene is called Lifeline 1, which runs from page 50 to page 53. The second scene is called Lifeline 2, which runs from page 57 to page 62. This section of the play is set in 2013. Frankie is a soldier, and he's meeting a charity worker called Tony at the seafront. They talk about armed conflict and what it's really like being a soldier. Towards the end of the second section, Tony reveals a shocking admission. This scene is slightly longer as it's 2 small scenes put together, but it really needs both sections for the narrative to work and for the climax to be effective. Mo and Charlie from Pomona by Alistair McDowell. This is scene 10. Start on page 62 at the start of the scene and stop on page 72 at the end of the scene. Mo and Charlie are sat in a car together and they've been paid to kidnap someone. Charlie is chatty and irritating, and Mo is attacking Charlie because of his naivety. It's an intense and comedic little scene with a great balance of dialogue. Tobes and Joff from Growth by Luke Norris. This is scene 4. Start on page 19 at the start of the scene and stop on page 24 at the end of the scene. Tobes and Joff are best mates, and they're in the hallway of their flat in the early hours. Tobes is asking Joff for a big favour, to check his balls for a lump. It's a very funny scene. The dialogue is quick and urgent, and the action is wonderfully uncomfortable and awkward. Andy and Stephen from Light Falls by Simon Stevens. This scene fuses 2 sections together. Start on page 47 at Andy's line baby and stop on page 49 at Andy's line wow. Then jump to page 51 and Andy's line who are you calling to, and stop on page 55 at Stephen's line look me in the eye and tell me you'll never leave me. Andy and Stephen are in a relationship and they're outside Durham Cathedral. Stephen is younger and a student, and Andy is older and a flight attendant. The pair have fantastic conflicting energies. Stephen's brain is blazing with thoughts, ideas and paranoia, and Andy is trying to get Stephen to be calm, honest and clear. The 2 sections are chronological, so by cutting out the small intercutting scene, the 2 parts combine to make a scene that's much more comprehensive. Larry and Dan from Closer by Patrick Marber. This is Act 2, Scene 10. In Patrick Marber Plays 1, start on page 269 at the start of the scene and stop on page 277 at the end of the scene. Larry is a doctor who's at work at his own surgery, and here he's visited by Dan, who's a writer. They're both in love with Anna. Larry is Anna's husband, and Dan has had an affair with her. It's a beautifully complex scene, brimming with tension, uncertainty, and anger. Emotions are high, and there are some amazing revelations to play with. It's a phenomenal scene from a masterpiece of a play. Danny and Lee from Motortown by Simon Stevens. This is scene 1. In Simon Stevens Plays 2, start on page 143 at the start of the scene and stop on page 152 at the end of the scene. Danny has recently returned from fighting in Iraq, and he's staying with his brother, Lee. The main topic of conversation is Marley, Danny's ex-girlfriend. She's told Lee to tell Danny not to go and see her, which unsettles Danny. The 2 brothers make small talk, yet there's a strained and tense dynamic between the 2, clearly created by Marley's adamant request. Paul and David from Birdland by Simon Stevens. This is scene 8. Start on page 38 at the start of the scene and stop on page 45 at the end of the scene. Paul and David are in an office in Berlin. Paul is a rock star and David is his manager, and he's briefing Paul on an upcoming venue that he's playing at. The pair are taking drugs, and David's asking Paul about the suicide of a young woman and whether or not Paul could have intervened before it happened. This scene explores arrogance, ego, power and status in a really brilliant way. It seems conversational, but it has a simmering darkness under the surface. Michael and Andrew from Foreplay by Jake Brunger. This is in scene 11. Start on page 81 at Michael's line Andrew and stop at the end of the scene on page 87. Michael and Andrew have been together for 3 years and their relationship is in meltdown. Michael has been with many other men and Andrew has found out. Andrew is angry and paranoid about Michael's behaviour. Meanwhile, Michael is scared of monogamy and he thinks variety will stop them becoming stagnant and stale. This is an emotionally challenging scene. There's lots of backstory to invest in and a great range of emotions to explore. Frankie and Dan from So Here We Are by Luke Norris. This is part 2, scene 8. Start on page 118 at the start of the scene and stop on page 124 at the end of the scene. Frankie and Dan are in the foyer of a city bank where Dan works. The time is 2 a.m. The pair are childhood friends. Frankie is drunk, he's decided to leave his girlfriend, and he's got a personal letter to give to Dan. The pair have a beautifully complicated relationship. This scene is fully fueled by rich subtext and backstory as the two struggle to acknowledge the past and their feelings for each other. So there we go, 10 duologues for 2 male performers from contemporary plays. These plays are available to read on Drama Online. Drama Online is a digital catalogue with thousands of play texts that you can subscribe to. Or you can order the plays from the publishers, Bloomsbury and Nick Hearn Books. Or you can order them from Amazon. Or if you're in London, you can visit the National Theatre Bookshop, the Royal Court Bookshop, Waterstones on Piccadilly, or the Calder Bookshop on The Cut. These bookshops have great selections of playtexts for sale. Right, that's it for this video. Please give it a like down below and hit that subscribe button too, as it really helps me grow the channel. Finally, check out these other videos that I've made that I think you'll like. Thanks ever so much for watching. Take care and all the best.